So we're going to be looking at 15 quick facts from the book of Job today. Number 1, the author of the book of Job is unknown. Now, many people believe that the author of Job was Job himself. I've seen others who say that it was Moses who wrote the book of Job, but ultimately we do not know, so the book is anonymous. Number 2, although we oftentimes don't think of it like this because of the opening chapters and the last chapter of the book, Job is technically a book of poetry. It's the first of 5 books of poetry. It's Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Lamentations, Ecclesiastes. So Job is one of the books of poetry. Number 3, Job is believed to be the first written book of the Bible. It's set during the time of the patriarchs, it would seem, and so although chronologically, obviously, the creation of the world in Genesis comes first, many believe that Job was technically the first book that was put pen to paper. Number 4, although the Bible is not a science textbook, when it speaks about science, it is true. So the book of Job actually has several interesting points about science. And so it tells us, and this goes before it was commonly accepted in our 21st century minds, for many decades and centuries, the Bible is holding an opposing view, and now over time we've seen that science has caught up with what the Bible said originally. So some of those things would be from the book of Job. It talks about how air is weightless in Job 28:25. It speaks about how light has movement in Job 38:19 and 20. And it also speaks, this is maybe the most famous, how the earth, it is free floating in space. It's not held up by Atlas's shoulders or on the back of a tortoise who's standing upon large snakes. We see that the earth is suspended in space without anything above it or beneath it. And this is what the Bible was speaking of originally as well. Number 5, Job is referred to as the greatest man of the East in the opening portions of the book. Now, this could be both in terms of his moral integrity, but also in terms of his great wealth and prosperity. Number 6, despite his friends saying the exact opposite, Job was suffering in the book because of his righteousness. It was not because of any sin in his life, not that he was perfect, but he was suffering because of his righteous upbringing, and that is why Satan wanted to hurt him in the ways that he did. Number 7, we see in the book that Satan, in order to do anything to us, he's going to have to ask permission from God for that leniency. So Satan did not have free reign to do with Job as he wanted, and he does not have free reign to do with us as he wants. He has a limited sphere, a short leash that God will sometimes let him use in this life. Number 8, Job lost his health, his wealth, and his children in a relatively short period of time. And this is part of the reason why Job, for other reasons as well, but one of the main reasons why Job is such a well-known story is because of the adversity that this righteous man suffered at the beginning of the book. Number 9, despite misfortune, Job praised God. He said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will return to the earth. The Lord gives, and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." And then it says, throughout all this, Job did not sin in what he said. So we know that Job was a righteous man. He was trusting in God. Even through this, he was praising God, and he's a great example. Although later in the book, over time, he began to get worn down by his struggles, he is a great example for us of faith during trial that he showed us. Number 10, toward the end of the book, God describes how he is the creator not just of the physical universe, but of the animals living within God's universe. Number 11, some of those animals that God mentions at the very end are 2 massive beasts. Many believe they may in fact be dinosaurs, and that would be Behemoth and Leviathan, to show that not just the small animals, but the largest, most terrifying animals or creatures in this world were created by God, and that God is in control of them as well. Despite Job's immense losses, we see God's blessing at the end of the book in terms of he was restored to double what he originally had at the start of the book. Number 13, despite Job being a book of poetry, the first, second, and 42nd chapter, which is the first two and the last chapters of the book, are technically narrative, and in between there is the poetry between Job, his three friends, Elihu, and the Lord himself, speaking in poetic language. Number 14, Job is a picture of a righteous sufferer, and this points us in perfect symbolism to Jesus, that Jesus is the full picture of Job. That Job, although he was a righteous man, he still had sin in his life. And this just points us to Christ, who had no sin, who suffered not against his will, but in his will, so that we could be set free from our sin. And finally, number 15, the book of Job gives us a pivotal lesson in trusting God, regardless of the situation that we are in, because he is good and he is in control. So those are 15 facts that I hope that were a blessing to you, and maybe you have a little bit better understanding of the book as a result. Until next time, see you then.